we take a look at the matchup, and it is involving cruiserweight champion Steve Cunningham, who was involved in some of the most exciting fights that boxing has had in the last couple decades. And he joins this promotion on short notice, replacing Antonio Tarver, but jumping into the fray. And he will take on big Frank Mir, of course, the UFC heavyweight champion, a man that has the record for most submissions among a heavyweight. But of course, that's not going to do him any good in this particular discipline. But he is a big, tough man, and he's answering the call for his first boxing match. And I think we're ready to bring both those men on stage. So let's bring out Steve Cunningham and Frank Mir. Hey, Steve. Good to see you. Hi, Frank. How are you? Good to see you, man. All right, so two great guys, and I have the pleasure of knowing Steve real well, and I know a million people that know Frank, so I know he's a great guy. Steve, I'm going to start with you. Now, you haven't fought since 2017, and you didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this. You kind of jumped in. So how's that process been for you?
Mic check. Oh, for me, that process is pretty simple. You know, I'm a champion. I'm a two-time world champion. My thing has been staying in the gym. I own the gym now, train other fighters, my sons who are at the USA Boxing National Tournament right now, getting ready to rank back up. I train a lot of fighters. I spar all the time. I'm always working out. That's been my thing throughout my time as a fighter, fighting once a year under a certain promoter, staying active, you know, going to training camp. So I'm always in the gym. I'm always, because we own the gym.
You look like you're in great shape.
I am. That's the goal, to die in shape. You know, I want to die 100 years old in shape. You know? So
we'd like you to live for a while longer, though.
Hey, all right, I'm with that. I'm with that.
Yeah. Now you're facing a bigger man, but then that's nothing new for you. You know, among them, Tyson Fury, you've faced big men before, for sure.
Yes, Natui Vasenia. I mean, everybody's been bigger than me. Once I went up the heavyweight, they were all bigger than me.
Yeah.
Size in combat sport doesn't really matter, especially to a trained warrior. You know, I'm beyond a trained warrior. I'm a trained champion. You know, and I'm training others to be champions. So, I mean, you know, his size is an advantage, but it's an advantage that we know how to get around, that we know how to work under, and that we know how to work in, and perform.
All right, we're going to see now, Frank. I saw an interview in which you kind of explained this as a win-win situation for you. Explain that to the folks.
Well, I mean, I'm making my debut in the boxing discipline, and I'm facing somebody who is a former champion. This is a fight that, you know, as far as debut goes, as guys going into boxing, this is probably the most difficult one that a lot of professionals. Obviously, I'm pulling off of a professional career in MMA, the experience I've garnered there, but this is still a new animal altogether. So going out there, obviously being victorious is phenomenal, but going out there and also being just proficient and having a good showing, a good representation of what mixed martial artists are able to do in boxing is also a victory.
Yeah, and you were mentioning that if you can do well it speaks well for you, for mixed martial artists.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, basically, this is a situation where I'm a decathlete, where I have to train all the different disciplines from boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, where now I'm basically a decathlete who's competing against a specialist, where I'm going to be in a sprinting event against a person who is a sprinting champion. It's definitely going to be a huge challenge.
And now, so Steve coming in as a, you know, short notice, but you were preparing for Antonio Tarver, who is different than him. He's a left-hander, among other things. Did this change your approach to this fight at all?
Actually, there's a lot of changes in it. Antonio is much more conservative with his punching. He's more calculated. He doesn't show up in great shape in his fights, so he has to be much more again, the word calculating, conservative, try to be more of a marksman. You know, Steve is much more of a warrior who is physically in shape and mentally very tough. He very much brings that Philadelphia type mindset where he's, you know, he's not going to slip and move away from punches. He shells up well, fires off right off the bat. Phenomenal long jab from the outside. And he just has a lot of grit, a lot of heart, which in turn also sometimes has gotten him in trouble. But in times, I mean, you have someone like Tyson Fury says you're the hardest fight he's ever had. That's a statement in itself.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You should actually, instead of fighting this fight, you should just sit at ringside and analyze it.
I do well at that too.
You'll take my job on the fight night. Now, we have, of course, press on hand here that are going to ask questions. Let's go out to a question.
Yeah. Frank, I mean, I know that a lot of us were surprised, right, when you made this announcement that you were going to be partaking in this. And then you got to change the opponent on top of that, right? I'm curious, I mean, did that cause any hesitation at all? Was there any discussion like, hey, we were already taking a chance. Now this is even more of a chance, even more crazy. Did you think, maybe we should wait till another opportunity's around?
Well, the one thing that hasn't changed, it was always going to be a challenge. It was going to be something that I knew was going to bring out the best in me, to give me something to face. I always tell people that, so many people want to improve their life. They want to do something. They're not happy with where they are. I tell them, hey, pick a running event, pick up a jiu-jitsu competition, go, a point fighting, do something, put it on your calendar, and it gives you a reason to train, a reason to push yourself. And that adversity and that suffering is going to make you a better person. And that's what I saw fighting in a boxing match as many opportunities, but that being one of them, as an opportunity to test myself and push myself to my brink. And it absolutely changed things up because Tarver, I saw somebody, again, I said that, again, I'm not taking away from Cunningham's boxing skills. I'm saying that Tarver relies more on being cunning and, trying to win with the judges, landing a more consecutive shot, tying up, keeping the distance. You even watch their fight together. Cunningham was trying to make it a fight, and Tarver slowed it down and kept it very close so that way they eked out that split decision or the draw. Cunningham is a much tougher guy. I'm not going to have as much of an advantage in age as I thought I was going to have over Tarver. I knew that Tarver wasn't going to probably be in the same kind of shape that I was. And because I knew that when it comes to boxing IQ, Cunningham's greater than I am, but Tarver's even more so. I knew that I couldn't be the smarter guy. For the first time in my career, I wasn't the more technical fighter. So it really inspired me to be in the gym, pushing my physical prowess, knowing that, hey, I'm going to have to make this ugly. I'm going to have to crowd them. I'm going to have to beat them up and keep up the conditioning that my size is an advantage because I can keep using it. If it becomes something where I get tired, well, now my size becomes a disadvantage. So when I found out it was Cunningham, and I had known who he was from the Tyson Fury fight, but then I started looking at his other bouts, I realized that this is even a tougher fight.
Yeah. To a lot of fans, you're kind of representing MMA, right? I mean, do you welcome that? I mean, are you okay with that? Like kind of standing for the sport in this challenge, or do you feel like, hey, guys, don't give me that label. I'm just kind of going in here taking a boxing fight.
No, absolutely. I love that challenge. I love that label. Look, there's no greater pressure than competing, and I'm sure Cunningham can agree to this, when you compete in front of your children. My daughter's in my corner. My sons are there ringside watching. They watch me every morning when I get up before they do to go train, and when I come home late at night and go to bed, and they're already laying there, So I live to try to be an example to them, I'm constantly trying to be an example to my wife so that when she sits there and, there's nobody that knows you better than your wife, right? Sit there and go, okay, did you eat the right way today? Did you train hard enough? Did you take time off when you need to? Because that was a smart thing to do. So I'm constantly always putting pressure upon myself because that always helps me be better. Any time in my life, and look, for my late 30s, I very much did that. Due to injuries and being beat up and hurt, my body was falling apart. I started giving myself just, does it really matter? Who cares? I've done this, I've accomplished that. I took away that pressure and I became a fat, middle-aged dad bod that was a very disgusting representation of a martial arts champion. Going down, doing stem cell with bioaccelerator and doing everything I've done was from American Shaman, trying to fix my body up to be able to be in the gym and training. Now I'm happy to just be a good example of what a warrior should be.
Nice. What do you think you weigh on fight night?
265, 270. I'm about 275 right now.
Fair enough. Thanks. I want to ask Steve as well. I mean, when you first heard this match was announced, obviously you weren't a part of it. It was the Antonio fight. What did you think when you first heard this? Frank Mir, UFC champion, coming over, Antonio coming back. What did you think of it?
In all actuality, I was happy. I was happy for Antonio Tarver because, I knew he didn't fight since our last fight in 2017. I'm like, wow, he gets, and it's an opportunity, it's Triller, Jake Paul, all of this stuff has opened up doors for fighters to make money, to showcase their skills, to present themselves to the fans. So I was actually ecstatic for Tarver and ecstated to see it. I'm like, hey, that's a good matchup. I like to see that. So then I get the call and it's like, yo, all right, I just step in. I'm always ready.
What do you think Franco brings to the table? Like, obviously, he's fought at the highest level of the sport in mixed martial arts. I mean, a UFC champion, Hall of Fame type career, but this is a different sport, right? I mean, so is he completely out of his element, do you think, in coming to the sport? Or do you feel like, the fact that he's competed at such a high level in mixed martial arts he'll be successful in this.
Yeah, that in itself, him competing at a high level in the UFC as a champion, and that in itself makes him prepared for our fight for April 17th. That's the warrior in him. He's a warrior. Period. That's just the line right there, warrior. So once you pass that line, then you have champion. He's a warrior and a champion. So for anybody who thinks this is easy or Cunningham's going to breeze through him, nah, you shouldn't. I don't think like that. You know, in the words of my late trainer, brother Nazim, you take everybody serious. That's Tyson Fury right there. You know, I'm about to fight Tyson Fury again. You know, that's the mindset. That's the mindset I'm going through in every fight. So you buckle down like that, and you go to the gym, you train hard, and you push. Even short notice, it's just a few notches, you know, adjustments here, adjustments there, and we're ready.
All right. So last question for me. We talked about the size difference. What do you think you'll weigh on fight night?
210 is the goal. You know, 210. I'm almost there. We'll make it, and just go to work. You know.
All right, thank you very much. Now we're going to get some remote questions from around the globe. So let's go to them.
Our first question is from Cage Side Press, Josh Evanoff.
Yeah, I got a quick question for Frank. Frank, obviously you've been fighting in MMA for 20 plus years. You've been a former world champion. You've been pretty much everywhere the MMA world has been. You've been fighting Bellator, UFC. How has it been making that transition just in terms of preparation to fighting, now making your pro boxing debut and against a guy in Steve Cunningham on short notice?
The best part was that actually, because I was preparing for a bare knuckle fight, that gave me a lot of sparring in that realm, which helped me segue into this. On the outside, things are extremely similar between boxing and MMA, a little bit different of stance and whatnot because of angle. We don't have to protect our lead leg as much. But the clinch is a little bit different. And honestly, that's been the hardest part for me. There's a lot of things that I keep on accidentally doing, and I've almost eliminated it completely. But holding the back of someone's head and driving an uppercut is very legal in MMA, and it was legal in bare knuckle. And now I get my dad at the side of the ring is screaming at me, "Stop punching with the clinch!" So I'm working on it. So there are some aspects of it that are just instinct in me. When I put wrestling shoes on or boxing shoes, I tend not to kick or knee. That's easy because I've sparred so many rounds boxing in preparation for MMA. I've never made that mistake, but again, the clinch is probably the hardest part because there's so many similarities between bare knuckle boxing and MMA, and that's what I was training for. That now the pure boxing rules and the clinch, it changes things.
All right. What else we got?
Next is the Full Reptile YouTube, James Mystery.
Hey Frank, great to see you up here, mate. Can you just talk to me a little bit about when the thought of boxing competitively became a serious idea to you?
Well, it probably came back in the day when I first started training boxing very solely to try to help me out with MMA when I was sparring with Bermain, and Marco Huck and whatnot, guys coming in and working. And I was like, wow, this is exciting. I like it, in its own chess match in itself. And the type of brain I have, I just really enjoyed it. I really love wrestling. My daughter and my kids are very good at it. My daughter's going up to nationals. In fact, this weekend right now, she's on a plane, multiple time state champion. So I'm an avid fan of wrestling, but there are times when wrestling to me gets a little boring. I think boxing is much more of a thinking man as far as speed and ingenuity. And there's just more to it as far as, because of the pain factor as far as testing a man's soul. Wrestling hurts your lungs, but there's this no sensation as getting hit by another man in front of you and knowing he's going to continue to do so. And you have to do something about it. And there's no one that's going to come to help you.
All right. Let's get our last remote question.
From Bad Left Hook, Michael Woods.
Hello, Big Al again, and my friend Steve Cunningham. You and I worked together on Fight Night Live near Philadelphia 2 weeks ago. And how about that? What were we talking about? You were wanting another fight, and I said, what about those Triller people? It came to be. It came to fruition, huh?
Totally, man. You talked it up, Mike. You still there? Is Mike still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you talked it up. We sat there. We were commentating, some fights in Philly. Got guys coming up from the amateurs, actually from the tournament that my sons are at right now. Guys turn pro, and I got the opportunity to commentate again. That I'm trying to keep my wheels spinning on that, and to do it with Mike is a pleasure because it's like yin and yang going on. Me and Mike, we have different views on certain things, even in the sport. but we come together to make the show great. But he was just saying, man, what about Triller? And me and my wife, who is my manager, my gorgeous wife, she's around somewhere. We were like, hey, we want to contact them. We want to get in touch because a lot of people been saying I've been retired. And I'm like, I haven't retired. You know, I still want to fight a few times, you know, before I retire and pass the torch to USS Junior, you know, and my son Cruz. So, but we get the call, you know, and it's amazing.
All right. I should identify that gentleman that asked the question Ed did before, Colonel Bob Sheridan, a Hall of Famer in the sport of boxing. I want to thank both of you gentlemen for gracing this stage and for showing such great class. And we look forward to seeing you guys on April 17th.